In a world obsessed with visibility, validation, and vocal leadership, there exists a different breed of individual who has mastered the art of operating from the shadows. The Sigma male represents a paradigm shift in understanding masculine archetypes, neither the commanding alpha nor the submissive beta, but something entirely different. They are the architects of their own destiny, wielding influence through subtlety, strategy, and an almost supernatural ability to navigate social structures without being constrained by them. The shadow strategy isn't about hiding from the world. It's about choosing when, where, and how to engage with it. It's the difference between being a lighthouse that announces its presence to every ship at sea and being the North Star, constant, reliable, and guiding, yet distant enough to maintain its mystique and power. Chapter 1. Moving without being seen. The first principle of Sigma strategy is mastering the art of invisible movement through social and professional landscapes. This isn't about being antisocial or withdrawn. It's about understanding that true power often lies in what people don't see coming. Sigma males have perfected the ability to be present without being obvious. They attend meetings, social gatherings, and networking events, but their approach is fundamentally different from their alpha counterparts. While alphas command attention through dominance and betas seek approval through accommodation, sigmas operate through observation and strategic positioning. This invisible movement manifests in several ways. First, they choose their battles with surgical precision. A sigma male doesn't engage in every conflict or insert themselves into every conversation. Instead, they watch, analyze, and strike only when the moment is optimal and the outcome serves their larger purpose. They understand that visibility often comes with vulnerability, and premature exposure of intentions can lead to unnecessary resistance. Second, they master the art of lateral movement within hierarchies. Rather than climbing the traditional ladder rung by rung, sigmas often find alternative pathways to their goals. They might build relationships with key influencers behind the scenes, develop expertise in emerging areas that others overlook, or create value in ways that bypass traditional gatekeepers entirely. The Sigma's ability to move without being seen also extends to their emotional landscape. They don't broadcast their feelings, intentions, or reactions in real time. This emotional invisibility provides them with a significant advantage. People can't manipulate what they can't read, and opponents can't counter strategies they don't understand. Chapter 2. Psychological camouflage in social settings. Perhaps no aspect of Sigma strategy is more sophisticated than their use of psychological camouflage. This involves the deliberate presentation of a social persona that serves their strategic interests while protecting their true nature from scrutiny or manipulation. Psychological camouflage begins with the Sigma's exceptional ability to read social dynamics. They enter any social setting with the mindset of an anthropologist studying a foreign culture. They quickly identify the power structures, unspoken rules, alliance patterns, and emotional undercurrents that govern the group's behavior. Armed with this intelligence, they can then choose how to position themselves for maximum effectiveness. Unlike chameleons who change to fit in, Sigmas adapt to achieve specific outcomes. They might present themselves as the quiet expert in one setting, the mysterious outsider in another, or even the accessible everyman when it serves their purpose. The key is that these presentations are conscious choices, not desperate attempts to belong or be accepted. This camouflage extends to their communication style. Sigmas have mastered the art of saying just enough to be helpful or interesting, but never enough to fully reveal their hand. They ask probing questions that demonstrate interest and intelligence while deflecting personal inquiries with skillful redirection. They can discuss complex topics with depth and insight, yet somehow manage to leave conversations without having revealed much about their own beliefs, plans, or vulnerabilities. The psychological camouflage also involves understanding and leveraging cognitive biases. Sigmas recognize that most people make assumptions based on limited information and social conditioning. They can present themselves in ways that trigger positive assumptions while avoiding behaviors that might create unwanted attention or suspicion. Chapter 3. Using detachment as an advantage. Detachment is perhaps the Sigma male's greatest strategic asset, yet it's also the most misunderstood aspect of their nature. This isn't emotional coldness or antisocial behavior. It's a conscious cultivation of psychological distance that provides clarity, objectivity, and strategic flexibility. Emotional detachment allows Sigmas to make decisions based on logic and long-term strategy rather than immediate emotional responses. When others are caught up in workplace drama, relationship conflicts, or social pressures, the Sigma maintains enough emotional distance to see the bigger picture and identify optimal responses. This detachment manifests in their approach to relationships. Sigmas can form deep connections with others, but they never lose themselves in these relationships. They maintain their independence, their goals, and their identity, regardless of external pressures to conform or compromise. This isn't selfishness, it's self-preservation and strategic positioning. In professional settings, detachment allows Sigmas to navigate office politics without being consumed by them. They can observe power struggles, personality conflicts, and organizational dysfunction with the clarity of an outside consultant. This perspective often enables them to identify solutions and opportunities that others miss because they're too emotionally invested in the drama. The strategic advantage of detachment becomes most apparent during crises or high-pressure situations. While others panic, seek validation, or make reactive decisions, the Sigma's detachment provides a stable foundation for clear thinking and effective action. They become the eye of the storm, calm, centered, and capable of providing guidance to others who have lost their bearings. Detachment also extends to outcomes. Sigmas work toward their goals with dedication and intensity, but they're not emotionally devastated by setbacks or overly attached to specific results. This flexibility allows them to adapt their strategies, pivot when necessary, and maintain momentum even when original plans don't unfold as expected. Chapter 4. Quiet power that doesn't need validation. The fourth pillar of Sigma strategy involves wielding influence without the need for external validation or recognition. This quiet power is perhaps the most sustainable form of influence because it doesn't depend on others' approval, attention, or acknowledgement to remain effective. Quiet power begins with internal validation. Sigmas have developed a strong sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external feedback. They know their capabilities, understand their value, and trust their judgment. This internal foundation provides them with the confidence to act decisively without requiring consensus or approval from others. This form of power manifests through competence rather than charisma. Sigmas focus on developing real skills, deep knowledge, and practical abilities that create value for others. They become indispensable through what they can do rather than how well they can sell themselves. When problems arise, people naturally turn to the Sigma not because they're the loudest voice in the room, but because they consistently deliver results. The validation-independent nature of Sigma power also means they're not vulnerable to manipulation through praise, criticism, or social pressure. Flattery doesn't inflate their ego, and criticism doesn't deflate their confidence. This emotional stability makes them reliable allies and formidable opponents because their actions aren't dictated by others' opinions of them. Quiet power often operates through influence rather than authority. Sigmas rarely seek formal leadership positions, but they frequently end up guiding decisions and shaping outcomes through their insights, suggestions, and strategic thinking. People follow their lead not because they have to, but because the Sigma's track record and judgment have earned their respect. This approach to power also allows for sustainable influence. Leaders who depend on validation are constantly managing their image, defending their position, and working to maintain others' approval. Sigmas can focus their energy on creating value and achieving results, rather than managing perceptions. Chapter 5. Why Sigma operates best in the shadows. The final principle of Sigma strategy acknowledges that operating in the shadows isn't a limitation. It's their natural habitat and greatest strategic advantage. The shadows provide the Sigma with freedom, flexibility, and power that would be impossible to maintain under the constant scrutiny of the spotlight. First, the shadows provide protection from the politics and drama that often consume more visible individuals. Alphas must constantly defend their position at the top of hierarchies, managing challenges, egos, and expectations. Sigmas avoid these energy-draining conflicts by operating outside traditional power structures altogether. The shadows also provide the Sigma with superior intelligence-gathering capabilities. People tend to be more authentic and reveal more information when they don't feel they're being evaluated or judged by someone in a position of power. The Sigma's ability to remain in the background allows them to observe genuine behavior, overhear unguarded conversations, and understand the real dynamics at play. Operating in the shadows maximizes strategic options. When your position, intentions, and capabilities aren't fully known to others, You maintain the element of surprise and the flexibility to pivot strategies without losing face or credibility. Sigmas can adapt their approach based on new information without having to explain or justify their changes to others. The shadows provide freedom from expectations and social constraints. Visible leaders are often trapped by others' expectations of how they should behave, what positions they should take, and how they should respond to various situations. Sigmas maintain the autonomy to act according to their own judgment and values rather than social or professional pressure. Finally, operating in the shadows allows Sigmas to maintain their independence while still contributing meaningfully to organizations, relationships, and communities. They can provide guidance, solve problems, and create value without being bound by the obligations and compromises that come with formal authority or public recognition. Conclusion: the shadow strategy of Sigma males represents a sophisticated approach to navigating an increasingly complex and interconnected world. By mastering the arts of invisible movement, psychological camouflage, strategic detachment, validation, independent power, and shadow operations, Sigmas have developed a sustainable model for personal and professional success that doesn't require them to compromise their autonomy or authenticity. This strategy isn't about avoiding responsibility or hiding from challenges. It's about choosing the most effective methods for achieving meaningful goals while preserving the independence and flexibility necessary for long-term success. In a world that often confuses visibility with value and noise with influence, the Sigma male shadow strategy offers a compelling alternative path to genuine power and lasting impact. The shadows aren't a place of weakness or retreat. They're the strategic high ground from which the wise observer can see clearly, act decisively, and influence outcomes without being constrained by the limitations that bind more visible players. For those who understand its principles, the shadow strategy offers a pathway to influence that is both powerful and sustainable, effective yet authentic.